welcome once again. This is the Papago, North Tempe character area planning second public meeting. And the agenda today is going to be, we just had the welcoming staff introduction from Sona and Ryan. Me and Robbie will talk about first meeting on March 15th. And we'll also give you, am I muted?
We can hear you, Ambika.
Oh, okay, good, because on the screen it keeps on showing me you're muted. Okay, sorry about that. And then the Robbie will explain the autocracy process a little bit in length, which is online already. And then we'll give you a brief overview of the next steps timeline, and then we'll have question and answers. This is for anyone who is joining new for the first time. We explained this last time. We have 8 character area plans in City of Tempe. Out of the 8, as you can see, the colored one, the 5 have been completed. The gray one, character area number 2 and character area number 6, they will be done later. The character area number 1, which is the orange hatching area, that's the one that is in process right now. Just a quick overview of the character area 1 geography. It's about 8% of the total square mileage of the area of the city, about 5% of the population, and you can see some of the numbers. Just wanted to give you a context on how much is the character area 1, it compares to the overall city. The median age is similar to the city. The median household income is slightly less, and the other numbers will be updated for 2020-21 from the 2020 census. There is one diagram which again will be updated. This is from the 2011 census and update of 2019 and 20 from the American Community Survey. Basically gives you a breakdown of the population by age and also the number of jobs, the growth pattern, and number of households in the area. Quickly on the status, the 2 Keycup meetings were held on March 15th, and then we want to have some pop-up meetings. We'll come to your meetings and we'll organize some public meetings in June. We'll talk about those dates later on. And the autocracy, which is basically a survey on your preferences, is going to be open from today to June 30. Robbie will talk a little more detail on that. I want to provide a little recap because there are some new people here of the character area planning. Just to re-emphasize, the character area plan is a high-level vision and policy plan. It is consistent with the council priorities and to make sure that we work on this in collaboration with the staff, residents, and stakeholders. In terms of the content, it will have the character area boundary, provides the background and history and design and planning principles, which is the bulk of the plan, and then images and appendices as necessary. So how does the content of character area 1 look like? It will provide that scope, saying that it's non-regulatory plan, provide a vision that has been distilled from your input. So far, it will continue to be refined from what we hear from you. And then the different elements of character area, once again, we're refining that based on your input. And then the design guidelines, again, from your input, that's going to be the bulk of the plan. I want to quickly go to the review of the outcomes of the Keycup meeting on March 15th. Here is the quick nutshell of that. Among the respondents, about 78% were white, 14% Latino. Majority of the respondents were less than 45 years old. And you can see a few other elements that are distilled from the meeting of the March 15th. One interesting thing, we also did a survey on the virtual meeting versus in person, almost evenly split. So going forward, as things open up, we will begin to have in-person meetings. We also asked on your preferences for the meeting. Most of you wanted weekdays, that's what weeknights, that's what we're doing, 1 in day and 1 in night. Tonight, At 6 o'clock, it will be exactly the same meeting. You can spread the word. If you like this meeting, you can also attend it twice if you wish. So the same meeting will be held at 6 p.m. tonight also. Okay, the last meeting, there were several things. Even we had a brief welcome remark from the mayor also, and then we had presentation and discussion, and I'll give you some summary of what went on. So both from the survey and also the content of the meeting on March 15th, the preferences were many, but on the top, from what we heard from you, was the canal side trails and multi-use paths, where the amenities of preference from you, the streetscape and shade and bus shelters were very important on number 2 actually. On number 3 were related to park, and there were a number of other items and amenities that you had told us that you value in the area. And then also we asked what land uses should be increased. Open space, you put it on top. And then you also asked for single family and multifamily in that order, and the drugstores and groceries, and many other things that followed. These were the top 3 preferences. The top wish list items from you, one was dealing with homelessness. I'll talk a little bit about that later on, not exactly within the scope of the character area plan, but we do want to hear it from you. We do have staff from the community services, which will help us out on that one. That's a separate process. And then you talked about drainage improvement, parking in the area. Some of you had wished for streetcar extension and parks. And then the interesting thing was when we asked, is the area attractive for investment? Vast majority, almost 70% of you said yes, it is a good area. Now, the meat of the character area plan is going to be the design criteria. So we had a number of questions that we had asked before, and then you listed many items. Many of those things are not surprising. Shaded walkways. One interesting element was there was a split in the preferences between low building heights, while some people were okay with tall buildings. And this is something we can discuss a little more going forward. There were questions about sign ordinances, and then again, the homelessness. And as I described, this is the character area planning is more for the design element, but we want to hear from you. Community services staff are working on this. They will talk whatever questions you have on this later on in today's meeting also. We asked you for any other thoughts that we had not captured on the multiple questions. You wanted public arts, affordable housing, and again, the community services outreach. Some examples of the graphics that were extracted from the very long survey. Many people participated. I think more than 60 people participated on that survey, online survey. Again, as you can see, the canal side trails and park enhancement top the list in terms of the amenities, in terms of the what you actually want to see going forward. Again, open space, single family, you can see the percentage out here. There are also some extracts from the meeting on the 15th when there was a live discussion. We had a very good turnout on both the meetings, and people really wanted how is this area defined? What are the characteristics of the area? The character area 1 that defines it. Many people talked about mesquite trees, Papago Park. More people said that rolling hills and diversity and natural desert environment. This is very important for us to continue in incorporating it into the planning process. And also when we asked what should be preserved, again, people had concern about the county island, the pedestrian walkway environment. These are the actual words that were used at the meeting on the March 15th. And then the mesquite, cactus trees, and so forth. So all these things, we have it available on the website, and we are also making a list of all these ideas so that the plan actually addresses and reflects the balance of many things that we can hear. Obviously, everything that we hear cannot go into the plan. It has to be distilled, but anything that's important will drive the plan. Now, Robbie is going to explain the autocracy process that is going to come through. Robbie, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, and I can move the slide when you want.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Robbie Aaron. I'm a planner in the Long Range Planning Division in Community Development, and I'm working alongside Ambika on this character area plan. I'm going to go over Dotocracy and kind of what it is and what principles that we derived. So for a basic overview of Dotocracy, for those of you who haven't used it before, you'll be allocated a certain amount of dots, in this case, 10 dots. On the forum, which is where Dotocracy will be used, you'll be able to spend or use those dots and allocate them however you wish. You can allocate all 10 dots to one single priority, or you can divvy them up throughout each priority. It's totally up to you. And then we use this Dotocracy to determine the design principles that go into the character area plan draft moving forward. As Ambika suggested, the Dotocracy survey will be open from May 11th to June 30th. And I did just see that Shauna put a link to the Dotocracy survey in the chat. So feel free to take it today or to take it anytime before June 30th. Again, you'll have 10 dots to spin. Go ahead, Ambika. So quickly, I'm gonna kind of just list out the priorities that are in there for you to decide on. And these were distilled from the public input from the March 15th meeting, as well as the survey that came after that. So there'll be landscape, mobility, connectivity, streetscape, open space, shade, public and private art. Next slide. Housing, aging in place, sustainability, canal-oriented development, quality design, balanced land use, and historic preservation. And in case you have questions about what all of those mean, there will be a short description that goes along with them, so you have a better understanding of what we mean when we say those priorities. So as part of this, we also want to do a poll right now that basically answers this questions of do you have any suggestions for additional priorities that were not included in the list that I just mentioned? I'll give you a few minutes if you just want to type something in the chat box. We'll be able to pull the chat down so that we can go through those. So go ahead and list anything that you didn't see that might be a priority in the chat box, and we'll go ahead and give a few minutes before we move on.
We'll open it for 2 minutes. We begin to see some comments already. That's great. Okay, so thank you, Robbie. People can continue to type anything that they wish, any new ideas on the chat box. And I think we can proceed forward. Is that okay, Robbie?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, just a quick correction. I think I misspoke. Ryan Lubeck is the Deputy Director of the Community Development Department, and myself and Robbie also work there. So does Shauna, and Brenda. Okay, so going forward, actually, Robbie, I think you have a little more on this to talk about.
Yeah, so moving forward again, like I stated, the survey will be open from May 10th, May 11th to June 30. You'll get a total of 10 dots, and go ahead and place the dots however you like. Spread them out or put them all on one. That's totally up to you. And then we'll distill all the information and start to turn that into a plan moving forward.
Great. Thanks again, Robbie. So like Robbie mentioned, Sana and Brenda have already uploaded the Autocracy survey on the website, characterareas.tempe.gov. So it will be open for today. And like Robbie mentioned, it's open until June 30. The reason that we gave it a very long period of time is you might have many things that you want to think about and write. Also spread the word. We'll continue to monitor that. We'll continue to extract any important points because we do have meetings between now and then. And those meetings, we can begin to talk about, hey, this is what we begin to hear from people in autocracy. So that is the idea. And then in the meantime, when the autocracy is still open, we will begin to go to boards and commissions initially for introduction, and if need be, one more time to give them an update on the drafts of the plan as they evolve. And then we talk about some of these. Now we have the dates um, of our presentation. The first one actually starts on June 1 at Desert Conservation Commission. And then the next one is Neighborhood Advisory Commission on June 2nd. And then you can see the other dates. At least these are the boards and commission that we will go to. The Development Review Commission, we definitely will go to more than once. And maybe the same case with any other boards and commission that like to hear from us. The timeline we had talked a little bit about before. So today is the virtual public meeting, although the second in series, but the first one was more kickoff and introductory. Today, obviously, we talked a little more about design principles, the headings that Ravi mentioned, and the autocracy being open. So this really helps us. And then we'll continue to have June and July. The meetings will come to some of your meetings as they open up. And then we'll also organize public meetings. There are two tentative dates that we picked, subject to change. Sana can update on that one, June 7 and June 26th. The starting in June, boards and commissions, as I showed before. Fall and winter, we will have a draft plan that will make it public. And then there's going to be a public review process. Hopefully there will be more in person at that time. We'll open it both ways. And then we'll continue to do that revision, take it to boards and commission. And finally, end of the year, beginning of 2022, we want to take it to the council for their decision. So having said that, that's the end of our presentation. You can contact myself, Ambika Adhikari. There's an email, Robbie Aaron, Sana Warner, actually even Diane Kaminsky. She lives in that area. And any of the people that will talk today, you'll be able to contact. So let me leave it here and open up for discussion. Sana, Robbie, is there anything that you want to add before we open for discussion? And also feel free to put your questions in the chat box. Sana?
Yes, hi. So we did have some questions in the chat box. So just, I had answered some, but one was asking about pictures, what they'd like to see in the area. So I did put in there for everyone's reference, characterareas@tempe.gov is an email where we can take pictures, any other comments, if you feel they don't fit into the format of the questions we're asking in the online survey. And then those will still be taken in and included in all of our materials, as well as considered in framing the plan. So then a question for you, Ambika, though, is to refresh their memory, did council approve a consultant for character areas? Are we collecting input for them to use? Did you want to reply to that?
Can you repeat that?
Just asking if there is a consultant for character areas.
Oh, no, we don't. It's in-house.
And so Ambika and Robbie are both with our long range planning division. And so they're working on the character area plan along with additional staff from various departments.
Yes, that is true.
So if you guys have other questions, this is your time to ask them. We've got various staff here that can reply to different issues you may want to bring up, or if you want some clarification on any of the design principles Robbie brought up, you can put them in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, you're welcome to do that as well.
Shauna, can I just quickly add on the question of the consultants? So although Robbie and I kind of lead the process because we're in the long range planning, we have other people within the Community Development Department Planning Division and various other departments like yourself, Shauna, and Economic Development, Community Services, Engineering. We have a larger team that actually provides and helps us do the planning from the staff. And it is very collaborative. Whatever we hear from you, we incorporate it. So that's the process.
So I'm not seeing any other questions or hands. So anyone, if you have questions, feel free to stick on and do that. Oh, here we go. No. There was just a comment about the county island, but that is not under our control. That's within the character area there. And Bika, I don't know if you want to
What is the
talk to
question?
that, or Ryan, about a county island and how that works.
Okay, so we are cognizant of how the county island looks like. We know that physically it's there, it's part of the geography. So we do consider that, but like Shauna said, this is not exactly under our control, although one part now is being annexed. And eventually, those things might change. So in terms of the planning, as much as possible, we do want to kind of take that into consideration on what happens there. Some parts are industrial, some parts are maybe not the most desirable land usage according to some residents, but we cannot exactly, our plan will not be so implementable to those areas. So whenever we get a review, whenever we get a development plan that happens in character area 1, so when we review it in terms of zoning ordinance, general plan, and other plans, the character area 1 plan is also one of those reference plans. But obviously for the county islands, the approval process is through the counties, so we cannot really implement that part. Did that
Yeah,
clarify?
Ambik, if I could add to that conversation as well. So, once there's opportunity for additional property to be annexed in the city within that county island area there, I think it's important for us to hear all from the community members. What would they like to see or envision happen or be redeveloped in that area? If there's a redevelopment opportunity, what would you like to see? How would you like to see that presence? What type of streetscape are you looking for along Curry Road versus on Scottsdale Road? As there's an opportunity to see these new projects come forward, we can share some of those visioning thoughts and incorporate them in this plan so that when there's a development coming forward, we can have those conversations early on with the development team and share those inputs and ideas for what the residents and community members see as the vision of that County Island area being eventually redeveloped or developed to something else. So we welcome your thoughts and inputs on those ideas and concepts, and we can include them in the plans as well.
Thank you, Ryan.
So Ambika, there is a question here. Will the characteristics developed in the character area plan be required for new building business development? For example, businesses would be required to comply with these characteristics to increase building conformity, etc.
Okay, so that's a good question. Thank you for that question. The character area plan that we mentioned before is high-level policy non-regulatory, but definitely a good reference for the design. So anytime, whenever we get a new development application, especially the building development application, whatever is approved and adopted in the character area plan, those criteria we definitely review in conform, well, that they're compatible to the principles that are included in the character area plan. Now, in terms of the business development, uh, we work closely with the economic development department. We know that it's very important. The character area plan also would like to support that. Zil Busbacker, by any chance, are you here today?
I am, thank you.
Yeah, would you be able to respond to the business development side of it?
Sure. I mean, we like to make sure that whatever business opportunities we may be working with in the community, are in conformance with character area plans and other plans that the city has. Again, like Ambika said, this is not necessarily a code, but it's a very important planning document. And we like to point folks to it when they're considering doing some kind of, development in our community in these areas. So but we want to hear from you all, like he said as well, and know what you would like to see in this area. And where we can, we proactively seek those opportunities. When folks have the opportunity to do something on land they already control that already meets code, we can't necessarily tell them what they can and can't do if it's allowed in the current zoning and so on that they have. But we do like to point them to these plans, and they are very important to inform the community and the businesses that we work with. I hope that's somewhat helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Zil. Just before we go to the next question, Sana, Diana, I think you are at the meeting, right? Diana Kaminsky?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I know we refer to the character area plans when we review any plans and design and application. Even in our staff report, we refer to that. The council and DRC is also very much aware that we want to make them compatible. Could you be able to speak a little bit, because you do that all the time?
Sure, Ambika. Well, the plans are helpful to planning staff. We start at the site plan review process when we get an application in. No matter what it is, we can look at the character area plan and make reference to any design guidelines, landscape preferences, and provide that information to the applicants early, hoping that they will take those cues, those visual cues and suggestions, and we'll integrate them into their design. Once it becomes a formal application and they're going through an entitlement process, then we do refer to the character area plan within our report. We talk about what suggestions we made during the site plan review and what was listened to and what wasn't. And then we do a comparison of like the principles or the values, whatever the bullet points are within the character area plan, and we integrate that into our report as a comparison of where it meets or doesn't meet or helps facilitate the plan or doesn't. It's just a part of our guiding documents that we can use for the report. And then obviously the commission and the council as the decision makers can look at our comparison in the report and decide whether they feel it helps facilitate the character area plan, or if there's some additional work and they can add conditions if they choose. But it is just a guiding document, so all we can do is ask.
Thank you, Diana. That's very illuminating and detailed. Good explanation. Wonderful.
So we have a couple questions in the chat. The first one is there a plan to work together with the city of Scottsdale on our border area so that North Tempe and South Scottsdale can share some of the planning?
I can respond to that. Absolutely. That's something that we do intend to do, because it's kind of blended in. This is a great suggestion. We really appreciate it. We do work with the city of Scottsdale in many elements, and this one will definitely work on that.
Next.
Brian, from your previous experience, is there anything more that you want to talk about it?
No, I mean, I'll just add that there's certainly an opportunity for us to apprise them of this character area planning process, bring them together. We've got some former employees that have worked in Scottsdale as well, and I think there's an opportunity to engage with the staff and kind of share some of these vision goals and see if we can get everyone on the same page. I think that's an admirable objective.
Okay, next question. Is there consideration for historical context and indigenous design where appropriate?
Absolutely. I don't know if John Southard is at the meeting. Otherwise, Robbie.
He is not, if Robbie wants to.
Okay, Robbie.
Yeah, so we certainly include historic preservation and other historical context in our plan. There will be an entire like little introduction about the historical context of the area with regard to buildings and the indigenous people that once lived in the area. And that's always a huge part of our character area plans. And as you said, we'll work to include those designs where appropriate. It's not necessarily appropriate everywhere, but where it is appropriate, it's definitely something that we do look to, and we work with our historic preservation staff to ensure that that everything is met as far as historic preservation goes, and that we're meeting all the plans and integrating the historic preservation plan along with our character area plan.
Thanks, Robbie. In addition to that, among the planning principles, we will have some principles that relate to the historical preservation. And then even in Dotocracy, you'll see some questions. So we want to hear if there's anything more that you want to share with us. Anna, is that all we have?
That's all we currently have, yes.
Okay. Does anybody wants to speak, or from our side, Levon or Kelly from Community Services? You know, there was a reference on homelessness and those issues. If you're there, is there anything that you want to speak or add to? Levon?
Hello, Ambika. So just specifically as it relates to, housing and affordable housing development, it's when we, excuse me, let me start over. So as we're looking at placement of housing projects, a lot of times these are private developments that are coming in. There are some that are, we do work with them when they're going to be affordable housing developments. And, character area, making sure that they blend with the community, overall placement of the project, and that it's conforming to the requirements of zoning planning, meets character area, because we do, as developers are having conversations, we do refer them back to, character area, kind of what the overarching vision for the neighborhood is. And just keeping all of these things in mind, particularly when the residents and neighborhoods have taken a very active role in saying, kind of what they want things to look like, what they want the the amenities in that area to be. We definitely take it into consideration along with any by right. And I don't know that there's much else I can say on that. And I'll see if Kelly, is there anything you would like to add from the perspective of you work in?
Hi, yes. So I'm Kelly Denman. I'm one of the outreachers with the city of Tempe. And I know that homelessness was a big #1 on the list of things that wanted to be tackled in the area. And I as well would love to tackle that challenge. So every day we're out in the community. I personally work very close with Tempe PD. And together we follow our encampment protocol that we have set up in place when it comes to some of these encampments and some of the homeless individuals or people experiencing homelessness in those communities. So, we go out and we're doing cleanups weekly. I know there's a couple of residents that are actually on right now that send me emails and actually give me a heads up of when there's a camp that pops up so we can go out and take care of that. But just to know that the Hope team, we are out every day in this area, outreaching individuals, and we won't stop. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes they accept services right away, but just know that we are always there and we're going to just continue to provide services for these folks.
Thank you, Levon. Thank you, Kelly. I know these questions come up all the time, and although we cannot directly address them in the character area planning, we're so thankful that you work as a part of us and work with the community to deal with these questions and work on them. So greatly appreciated that. For anyone at the meeting, if you have those kinds of questions on homelessness and housing, Kelly Denman and Levon Lammy would be a good contact. You can always contact me, Robbie, Sana. We'll direct you to them, or you can also directly contact them.
All right,
Yeah,
I think we don't have any other questions. So we thank everyone for joining us. We'll give you some time back in your day. And just as a reminder, that survey is open through June 30th, and we'll be following up with some additional opportunities to engage in June.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.